We have a cat causing chaos. That's not unusual in this house, to be completely fair. Um, okay, so uh, The Mandalorian, Chapter 11, The Heiress. Spoilers from here on in. Forgot where I put the camera. The camera's there. Okay. Um, I didn't know Katie Sackhoff was going to be in this. That was a really lovely surprise. Um, and there was something. I appreciate there's probably only like so many designs or whatever, but I think it was her. Yeah, I think it was her helmet. The artwork on it just looked familiar to me. Just me, maybe. I don't know. Um, so yeah, so okay, so this is what I like. So there's this building on what we were saying last week about how what this show does really well is has a story of the week, but builds an arc gently and really nicely. So as well as the whole getting the child home, we've now got another layer to this. What did I call it? Did I call it a trifle or a cheesecake? I can't remember what I went with in the end. We had a biscuit base, and then we had it was a cheesecake, wasn't it? Anyway, uh, the dark saber is a whole other layer now because it's not just the fact that uh, Moff Gideon has one or the, depending on how you look at it, or whatever it turns out to be, but now it's a thing because it belongs rightfully in her family. So now that's a whole other subplot. It's not just, oh cool, he's got the dark saber.
And it's a requirement for her to become the new Mandalore.
Yeah. Um, Now, granted, we've not seen uh, all of Rebels or Clone Wars yet. We're kind of making our way through those. So you might know shit that we don't know about that. So fair enough. Um, but I just thought it was cool, and I thought the frog people were really cute and cool. I love their babies. The little baby when it hatched out the egg. I thought it was really sweet. Um, but yeah, so you've obviously got kind of a proto empire still clinging on, which presumably over time, once Palpatine regains his consciousness wherever he is and starts to move into the First Order, or they could be a separate entity altogether.
Well, I think. I mean, this is less a proto empire. This is the remnants of the original empire.
Yeah, yeah.
The First Order. The impression I got certainly from the whatever we're calling it, the new trilogy,
Yeah,
the postquel. I don't know. Made it sound like the First Order was essentially like a factional offshoot
yeah,
of Empire sympathizers and ex-Empire
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bigwigs.
Yeah, the whole point is they're the First Order because what's coming is the Final Order. That's the whole thing with Rise of Skywalker, isn't it? But I'm saying you can see that they did this. What did they do? Empire Forever. The Empire lives. Empire
I genuinely can't remember.
Achtung Club. I don't know, whatever it was. But it's what it was. Yeah,
Moff Gideon.
yes, it was their little greeting thing to each other. I did like the whole the stormtroopers can't hit the side of a bantha. Well, no, they're Imperial stormtroopers. They're renowned for not hitting anything. That's just, I thought it was a really fun little in joke. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, it wasn't. What was it? 35 minutes. It was the shortest one yet. It felt short as well, to be fair. But
not in a bad way.
no, they did what they needed to do with it. They didn't drag it out for no reason. I like the idea now that because I'd never really sort of thought about it, but they set this up as this whole Mandalorians never take their helmet off. Well, I'm fairly certain I know in Rebels Sabine takes hers off all the time because you know what her face looks like, you know what her hair looks like. Well, it changes colour a lot.
It's a feature in most of the non-Mandalorian stuff as well, like the game,
Yeah,
the comics, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, this was a good way of actually, because obviously the man, as we know from the first season, the Mandalorian himself is a foundling. He's not actually from Mandalore. He was adopted into Mandalorian society, and as we find out in this episode, that's only one facet of Mandalorian society, and the impression we get, which again is why this works really well as it's kind of interesting actually because there are so many parallels with what they're doing in Discovery at the moment.
But they're doing it so much better.
Yeah, because Discovery is literally doing a like story building. You know, this is where the Federation was. This is where the Federation is. There's all these little puzzle pieces in between that we don't know yet that they're kind of drip feeding us. And the Mandalorian is basically doing exactly the same. Without even necessarily an end goal inside it, it's kind of giving us puzzle pieces for what's already been established in all of the other media up until this point.
Yeah.
But it just works because it's literally in a 5-minute scene and 2 lines. It's giving you more of a backstory than in some cases Discovery's managing in a whole 45-50 minute episode. I will be, and I liked as well that they don't beat around the bush with this one in terms of who he's going to meet. It's literally just we've given the spoiler warning. It's like, boom, you are going to meet Ahsoka Tano. There is no the Jedi you will meet sort of 3 episodes of stringing out the mystery.
Yeah,
it's very boom. This is what it is, and I think that especially if, I'm guessing if you've watched all of Clone Wars and Rebels, so you probably obviously know more about her story than certainly I do. That probably actually does more to build your hype up.
Yeah, because
drip feed.
I have seen most of Rebels, so I know her relevance in that. Obviously, I've not seen much of Clone Wars. I think I watched Clone Wars on and off first run to probably the end of season 3, maybe into 4, but I didn't catch every episode by any stretch and stuff like that. So, watching it through now and watching it all, we're only like 2/3 the way through season 1. We're not far in, but still, I kind of get her absolutely her relevance and the fact that she was Vader's Padawan, and she survived Order 66, and she survived Order everything else to be now, what do we work it was 9 years ABY, which incidentally I've worked out because it's after the Battle of Yavin should be 9 years at boy, if you really do it properly, or as I might say at boy, because I think that's more fun. So that's how you've got to say that now. But there was loads of little touches in this as well. So like the walker that was in the sea was the legs of an Attack walker, and it made proper Attack walker leg noises. It's stupid. And do you know what I love about this? It occurred to me when I'm not choking to death. I don't have COVID. Was how what they've done that Discovery hasn't and Enterprise didn't before it, and I think that kind of and also then the J.J. Abrams films, etc., etc., etc. I think where Star Trek has kind of gone wrong is it hasn't kind of been true to itself. Now I get it. You don't want to make a TV show or a film now and use 1960s looking sets and props, but actually what they're proving with this is you can and it works, because like his display screen was as basic as the graphics in Star Wars and Empire and Jedi. And you don't question it because that's what his technology looks like. So we get our modern day technology in Baby Yoda and the CGI spaceships and crashes and battles and planets.
The fact that we have this level of special effects in what is essentially a 35-minute TV episode.
Yeah. But for his display on the ship, it was just this really nasty little line drawing graphics. But that's in keeping, and I think that works. And I think that's probably, as we were saying in a Discovery video, how season 1 of Discovery basically just shot itself in the ass. So that it was cool. I just really love this show. I love this show so much. It's very entertaining. I think it's very extremely well crafted and put together. It looks gorgeous. As I just said, it fits. It fits where it's supposed to be without any kind of detriment whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think as well, while the meme that's doing the rounds at the moment about the Mandalorian, and my mind's gone completely blank on the actor's name who plays him.
Pedro Pascal, something like that. Pascal.
Yes,
We call
anyway,
him Pedro.
which is probably massively racist and
His name's Pedro.
Caucasian centric of
His
us.
name's fucking Pedro. That's his name. I can't blame
No.
for his parents giving him the name Pedro.
No, about the whole Pedro Pascal and his...
I can't remember how the rest of the name.
Yeah.
It's Pascal, something like that. I can't remember.
But that whole sort of meme that's going around anyway about the, how he's been admitted to hospital for, was it sort of emergency back surgery because he's carrying the entire Star Wars franchise on his shoulders. Well, I think it's a tad unfair to the stuff that's preceded it, because there is still an awful lot of good stuff with the Star Wars franchise.
I like Rise of Skywalker. I'm alone in that, but
I liked, for different reasons, all of the, sort of post trilogy movies. Again, whatever the frig they're calling them, will always have a soft spot for the original three. My favourite movie of all time is still from that original trilogy with Empire. You've got Clone Wars, which is amazing. I've heard good things about Rebels. We have to also accept that the prequel movies, they may not have been for us, but they did an awful lot to revitalise Star Wars for a generation that had never seen the original sort of trilogy. And you've got the games. There is a lot of good stuff. But yeah, there is something about Mandalorian, and I think it's very much down to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and the very, very obvious absolute adoration they have for this setting, because the Mandalorian just ticks every box. It's respectful. It takes the franchise in new, interesting ways. It kind of fills in a lot of the sort of deliberate blanks we have about stuff without actually pissing over everything else. Take notes, Discovery, and a whole bunch of other stuff that does that. And yeah, really excited to see where it goes.
I'm just really excited to see Ahsoka Tano. That's it at the minute. There'll be something else afterwards, obviously, because then I want to see the Darksaber again. Then I want to see what happens with the child, and who knows. But at the minute, I'm just all about get me to next Friday. And mind you, that's say she's actually in next Friday. They're on their way to see her now. It could take 7 more episodes to bloody get to her.
I don't think it will.
No, I think I can see them dragging it out to the end of this season though, because they know that's what we want. So they may not just give it a play. Because the other thing is once you bring her in, is she in it? You don't just bring her in for an episode, do you? Or do you?
You can do. I'm pretty sure that if you're a Jedi, especially one that clearly isn't part of whatever main world,
she's obviously been hermitage hiding.
Yes, there's going to be a whole loads of other stuff that's going to drag her off in other directions.
I just thought of something that I can't talk about because you haven't seen it yet, but it ties into Rebels, and that could, if you know, you know.
If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Ultimately, if that is it, it's going to be a massive spoiler for you for the end of Rebels anyway. But yeah, we still love The Mandalorian.